Hello, I'm your critical nerd. As you all might have known by now, I love Dreamworks. It is the go-to company for out-of-the-box animation movies. And when you're not in the mood for a really good Disney film or a really good Pixar film, you can usually go to Dreamworks to find something either really funny, heartwarming, dramatic, or all of the above. And with Dreamworks' 20th anniversary having just worn out, and in honor of my 50th review, I have decided that I will dedicate this entire video to short reviews of all the Dreamworks films in chronological order, which I happen to own in physical form, with a couple exceptions. These exceptions will be being, one second, the one exception to a review will be Spirit, The Legend of Cimarron, since I haven't actually seen it. And that's only really because it's a film where there are animals in it, and it's the main focus, but the animals don't physically talk. And when an animal doesn't talk in a movie, I can personally enjoy it. Like, I liked Pocahontas, even though the animals didn't really talk. But that's because they were side characters. When it's a main character and the animal doesn't talk, I believe Doug Walker said it best. It's an acquired taste. So, if this is the kind of stuff that you're into, you can go ahead and enjoy it. But as for me, I'm not denying that this is a good film. I just never personally seen it, so I can't do a proper review of it. Another exception will be The Croods, where I will be doing a review of it, but I don't physically have it on me, due to technical terms and family matters having somebody else borrow it at the time of this review, so I don't currently own it, but I have seen it. Anyway, on with the reviews. First off is Dreamworks' first film, Ants, about a young ant named Z who is trying to find his place in the colony and really trying to fit in. So he sets off with the princess to find what is called Insectopia, which is basically a giant garbage can. This film is kind of odd. The animation is kind of dull, but that can be expected, seeing as how back when this was made, CGI technology wasn't that great as it is now. And the characters are kind of bland. I don't really like Z's character, and a bunch of other people just kind of, they don't feel that interesting to me. On top of this all-star cast, Woody Allen, Sylvester Stallone, Gene Hackman, Christopher Walken, so many acting stars that they got into this one movie, and there wasn't really a point to it. So all in all, Ants is, I don't see any harm in watching it, but it's not worth it, to be honest. As a religious man myself, you would enjoy The Prince of Egypt. It's basically the story of Moses, with a few liberties taken, and a few things switched around. It does its best not to it doesn't religiously offend anybody, nor does it even try to. It's basically the story of Moses told in an animated musical form. And surprisingly, it does really good in terms of drama and animation. When you try to look at something like, oh, 2D animation doesn't work as well anymore, you can look towards something like this, or something like the old Disney films, and you can sincerely say, 2D animation does work. For some scenes in this movie are absolutely beautiful. From the plagues to Moses splitting the Red Sea to the burning bush that Moses meets when he talks to God, it's all just beautiful. The music is beautifully composed. Prince of Egypt is basically one of the best films I've ever seen, and a really, really good telling of the story of Moses. Next up, an underrated film, The Road to El Dorado, which is basically about two guys, Tulio and Miguel, finding the lost city of gold and attempting to go back to Spain, rich as kings. This film is really funny, to be honest. It's beautifully animated with El Dorado scenery and basically all of the traps and stuff that they encounter, and it's just so good. It's funny. The songs are a bit preachy, but it's made by the same guys that made the music for The Lion King, so the music's subpar at best. The animation is pretty good, but its greatest strength lies in the main characters, who are funny as hell. Road to El Dorado may not be worth your time, but it is worth at least one watch. Next up is Chicken Run, which I actually own in a double feature package with Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Chicken Run is about a chicken named Ginger who wants to gather all of her friends together and escape from a chicken farm a la The Great Escape. It's done in a stop motion style, and it gets really impressive when you see the way that certain shots are done. Like certain explosions at the end, or the way that they escape. Everything is... It's not the best film, I'll be honest, but I just have a nostalgia for it because I used to watch this all the time to the point where I destroyed the DVD that I used to own of this, and where I had to buy this new one. I love Chicken Run, personally. It's not the best film, but it's good to me. It's not love, it's not life, it's Shrek. And it's not that good. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I didn't really like the first Shrek. It got a little boring at times. Like, some scenes were funny. Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, they all try their dangest. They really do, but not so good. It was funny, yes. It was heartwarming, yes. But it definitely wasn't like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Sequels, on the other hand, yeah. Next up, Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. The very last 2D animated Dreamworks film before they went full CG. And, I can understand why. The villain in this movie is pretty weak. The characters are pretty weak. The 2D animation and the CG animation are spectacular though. With the monsters and some of the shots they get, like when they're falling off the edge of the world. That looks really good. And some of the jokes are pretty funny. But all in all, it's none to write home about. This can be a pass. What do you get when you make a hitter? When you make a success? You make a sequel. Shrek 2. And this one is infinitely better than the first one. I'm not even going to pretend like the first one was the greatest, because this one is what the first one should have been. Although then again, that would mean that this one would be the bad one. But nonetheless, Shrek and Fiona are married. They go to get Fiona's father's blessing to continue to be married, and Fiona's dad tries to have them separated along with the fairy godmother, who, personally, she gets a few funny lines here and there, but she's not the greatest villain. Although she does provide really great background music for the finale. Puss in Boots is a breakout character who is funny in this, but they kind of wore out the joke as the film went on. Everything is given a bit more. The comedy is amped up, animation is amped up, everything is amped up. This is a good sequel, and a sign that DreamWorks knew how to do a sequel. Shark Tale, it sucks. Let's move on. You make one good film series, you gotta make another. Madagascar. This one, I fell in love with it probably the first time I saw it. It's about Alex, Marty, Melman, and Gloria, a bunch of zoo animals who are accidentally shipped out of New York into Madagascar. And they're stranded, that's it. Every character has their quirks and traits that make them hilarious. To Alex ending up being crazy due to meat deficiency, to Melman being a germaphobe, to the penguins just being secret agents, to just King Julian in general. King Julian was funny in this, which is hard for me to say considering the next film makes him... Everybody gets their lines, everybody gets their moments. Animation is okay at best, but it's all live in the comedy, and Madagascar knew how to do their comedy. This is a winner. Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit. It was a really good one. Stop motion looked nice, story was great, and that characters and that British humor, just so lovable. Including Gromit. I want to give some special mention to Gromit, because he is amazing. Not that he acts as a good character, but the fact that the animators could make him so emoted. They could emote with him so much despite him not having a mouth. All he has is a giant nose, 2 eyes, and eyebrows. And they could still show so much emotion with him. That is worth noting, and that is one of the reasons that Wallace and Gromit is such a good series, and like The Curse of the Were-Rabbit is a good movie. It's a good film. With a full cast of comedians, it's Over the Hedge, starring a raccoon named RJ, who is tricking a bunch of junk forest animals into stealing food from humans. It's a cute concept. I really like it. And the animation it's okay. The comedy is okay. The characters are okay. It's not the greatest film, I'll admit. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people don't like it. I personally find it to be okay. It has its ups, it has its downs. Watch it for yourself, see if you like it. The very last Aardman film for Dreamworks, Flushed Away, about a pet rat in England, who is flushed into the sewers and becomes part of this whole conspiracy, which I honestly don't want to spoil for you guys. It's good. It's not the greatest film, but hell, it's better than Shark Tale. This is funny. Like, some of the characters can get a little annoying, but this is really funny to me. And I'd love to see it in that stop motion style, but due to the high amount of water in this movie, it's pretty obvious that the stop motion figures would have been completely destroyed as a result. So as a CG film, it works. It works. Flushed Away, if you're bored, then it's worth a watch. Shrek the Third, it sucks. Let's move on. B movie. It's okay. I'll admit, it gets boring during the third arc, but there's some unique things about it. Like, the way they simulate motion when you're something as small as a bee. It kind of feels like you're flying with a bee. It's really nice. Animation is cartoony, but it looks alright. The cast isn't that over the top, except for Patrick Warburton, who is supposed to be over the top, and we all love him for it. B-movie, it's funny to me, and I'm sure it's funny to a lot of people, but it may not be worth your time. And now what could be, in my opinion, the greatest series of DreamWorks films ever. Kung Fu Panda. Forget Shrek. Forget Madagascar. This is the selling point. This is the marketing that DreamWorks should have. Instead of having Shrek as their mascot, or Alex the Lion as their mascot, or even the Boy on the Moon as their mascot, Po has to be DreamWorks' mascot. Because Kung Fu Panda is a perfect film. Everything works. The animation is spectacular. The jokes are funny. The fight scenes are really well animated. And it's clear that they've shown their work to the point that they've interpreted China much better than China could. Kung Fu Panda is an excellent movie. And its sequel, oh my god. Just wait. From Madagascar 1 comes Madagascar 2, where they actually go to their home state, Africa. It's pretty much not the best. DreamWorks with Shrek 2, it was shown that DreamWorks can do sequels really good. It's just that compared to the other sequels, Madagascar 2 is subpar. Not all the jokes hit their marks, not all the characters are interesting. Like, the villain is pretty boring, and some of the characters are pretty boring. Not all the jokes work. King Julian ended up being more annoying than funny. But instead of being a comedy, it ended up being a really heartwarming film, with Alex finally meeting his family and finally trying to keep his friendship with Marty after threatening to eat him. It all works. It's not a comedy, more of a sense, a comedic drama. And I don't even know if that's the right word for it, but if you want to watch all the Madagascar films, you can go right ahead. If you want to watch all the DreamWorks films, go right ahead, but unless you want to understand the third movie, you can pass it. Monster vs. Aliens, it's boring. Let's move on. How to Train Your Dragon. Really unique. I love the flying scenes. I love the designs of the dragons. I love the characters. Everything about this movie, really, it shines. And it kind of and I think that's what's expected. coming from the guy that directed Lilo and Stitch. Everything about this movie is really good. It's a shiner. It's not top of the list, but it is worth your time. Flying scenes are beautiful, dragons are unique, characters are hilarious, it all works out. Shrek Forever After. Not the best, but interesting. Seeing as how, concerning the events that take place, you would be interested to see how Shrek would end up fixing everything. So it's not the greatest film. I mean, there are some pretty good lines in there, but it does keep you interested. And in all honesty, I don't see any other way they could have finished off the movies. Megamind. Playing with the superhero trope by having the villain win and seeing the aftermath. It's entertaining, it's funny, it's not top of the list, but it's still pretty decent. But what confuses me is that Madagascar got a cartoon, Kung Fu Panda got a cartoon, How to Train Your Dragon got a cartoon, all those were pretty decent. Monsters vs. Aliens got a cartoon, which is pretty stupid in my book. But why hasn't Megamind have a cartoon? I mean, you pick Megamind not to have a cartoon, but you pick Monsters vs. Aliens? Monsters vs. Aliens, they're not even monsters anymore, they're superheroes. If you want a superhero cartoon, pick Megamind. Look at this. You can make a cartoon out of this. What do you do when you make the perfect film? You make the perfect sequel. Kung Fu Panda 2. Perfect. The only word to describe this film. Perfect. Just when you think that you can't continue the story, they find a way to continue it. With a peacock named Shen, who is one of the best Dreamworks films, one of the best Dreamworks villains, or one of the best animated villains I have ever seen. He is up there with Disney villains like Scar, or King Candy, or Maleficent. He is so malicious, but so funny at the same time. The film is deep, it's thought-provoking, it's beautiful, it's action-packed. Everything about this film is perfect. Kung Fu Panda is not only a perfect film, it's a perfect series. And I am willing to just take all my money and throw it away if that's what it takes to continue to make these films. Puss in Boots. At this point, Puss in Boots wasn't that interesting a character to have a movie, but they did it anyway. But they did do it in a way that makes it a little interesting. And it worked. I'm not going to say it was good, but it worked. It's kind of worth it. Madagascar 3. A marginally better film than the second one, and probably the perfect way to end the series. Except for the fourth one that's coming out, which I think is a really stupid idea. But nonetheless, this film is not only funny, but once they get to the circus acts, it's beautiful. All the colors contrast together, all the neon, it's just so good. I did a review of this probably last year, but I just want to reiterate this again. It's beautiful, it's funny, the villain is amazing. Madagascar 3 is just a really good film, and it shows why this should have been the end, not the fourth one. Rise of the Guardians. I really like this. This is a really great movie, surprisingly, starring these weird figures like Santa, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, and Jack Frost, the Boogeyman. This sounds really stupid and childish, but it really does feel good. I can't even put it into words. It's just a really good movie. It's animated nicely, the characters are funny, it works. This is a film worth watching. I can't put it into words. All I can say is it works, it's great, go see it if you haven't already. And this is where we get to the one that I don't have on me right now, The Croods. It's a bunch of cavemen trying to find a new place to live after the world is ending. And it's okay. It's pretty much 50-50 in my book. The characters aren't really that interesting. Like, some characters get some pretty good lines, but for the most part, it's eh. But what really sets it apart is the sceneries and the background animation and all of the designs of the animals. Those are beautiful. Simply beautiful. And for those people that say, oh, CGI cartoons are sucking and they're not worth it, I'm kind of the middleman. I love 2D animation, and I would like to see it happen more often, but this is a prime example that shows that 3D animation and CGI can be just as good and beautiful as 2D animation. The Croods isn't a masterpiece, but it's a work of art. Turbo. What if a snail could go fast? Let's make a movie out of that. And it was okay. The comedy didn't really come from the main character. It came from the side characters. Not the snails, the humans. The humans were the ones that got the really good lines. And the animation is pretty bland, to be honest. I mean, the character designs on the snails are smooth, as with the humans, but it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing to write home about. Turbo is an option. It wouldn't hurt to watch it, but it's probably not worth your time. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Very heartwarming, very smart, a really, really intelligent movie. Very well cast, very well animated. It's just a good movie. I really like it. And when you have those films like Rocky and Bullwinkle or Dudley Do-Right, who were CGI or CGI plus live action or just live action, or just live action or just live action plus CGI, here's where a fully CGI film not only comes in, but shows that you can make it work as one. It all works out really well for Mr. Peabody and Sherman. It's a really good movie, and I recommend it. And last but most very certainly not least, How to Train Your Dragon 2. I find that the best part of this movie is that since it's a sequel, the characters actually mature. Because in the first film, they were kids. Come the second film, the main characters are pretty much adults. So it isn't like, oh, a couple years passed and they exactly look the same. No, they animated it so that way they look older. They are older now. So a couple years had passed. The new dragons are really good looking and really well animated, and the flying scenes are better than ever. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is not the best movie, I'll admit, because there are some plot twists and turns that might make you kind of turn away from it. Plot points that I don't want to spoil, but it's worth your time if you really love this series of films. And that was it. Every single feature film from Dreamworks in one review. I apologize that it took so long. I mean, I look at it right now and I see 22 minutes. I apologize for keeping you here for so long. And if you stayed till the end for this long, then you are the freaking best. I love you. And I may not have a lot of fans. And I may end up making about 100 videos and I'll still have 27 subscribers. But despite my haters, despite my lovers, despite my fans, despite those who would criticize me, I'm doing what I love. I love movies. I love films. I love critiquing films and shows. I love cartoons. I love animation. This is what I want to do. And if you want to hate me for it, go away. If you want to support me, that's on you. Anyway, I'm just letting you know. As Dreamworks grows with its 20th anniversary, I'll still be supporting it. And I'm glad to know that other people are supporting it too. And as I get into this 50th review, I'm glad to know that despite my haters, there are still some people there that subscribed. And I hope that other people will subscribe too. And if you don't, that's good on you. I may look like I'm doing this for all the fame that people like Linkara, the Nostalgia Critic, get. But really, I'm just doing what I love. I may not be the best critic, but I get fun out of it. I really like doing this. And, as always, I'm your critical nerd, and I'm not going away for a long, long time.